Beginner's Guide to CB Radio, Video 2, The Power Supply.
Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. It's Paul, Mike 0 Whiskey November uniform, or 26 Charlie Tango 730 if you catch me on 11 metres and PMR 446, or just the Red Squirrel if you actually catch me on CB just in general. So, because this is the Beginner's Guide to CB Radios, and I will obviously explain handles and things in a later video. So, what we've got here is a power supply unit. This is a Maplin one that I've had for a while. So that would be how you would power your CB radio if you were in the house. So what you would do is you connect your red wire to the red, the black wire to the black, and then you would turn on the power once you've done that. Seems simple. There are other methods. Now, there's a cigarette lighter type socket actually attached to this power supply, and I've got a cigarette lighter plug in here. That cigarette lighter plug goes to my T800, which I shall bring into shot, although bearing in mind there is other things connected to that as well, such as a microphone and such like. Let's bring that across. So there's the T800. I'll bring that into focus without the microphone hitting the tripod. That would be very good. So that's running off that power supply there. So if I was to switch that off, that radio would then go off. There we go. So that's running off that power supply, and that power supply is perfectly adequate for me to be able to actually pick up the microphone and be able to use it for transmit and receive. No problem at all. So if you look on the radio, it'll tell you that it will require 13.8 volts. This power supply does put that voltage out. Your car battery is somewhere between 12.5 to 13.2 usually, going up to about 14.2 when the engine is running. That would have no problem running this radio at all. This radio would be fine on that. And as I said, you can either connect it to the cigarette lighter, or I can get that out, because that's the plug that I've had put on this by Thunderpole when I bought the radio. Or you can either buy it without that plug and connect it straight to the car battery, as long as you can get the wires through the bulkhead into the engine bay. Though, if you really want to get it into the car easy, I would recommend asking Thunderpole or wherever you get the radio from, if they'll offer the service, to fit a cigarette lighter plug. So there's basically your two options there: run off your car, or run off a power supply like this in the house. And in the car, the two ways of doing it are the cigarette lighter or straight to the battery, whichever is the best way for you. Though I would, in the case of beginners, just plug it into the cigarette lighter socket, because that would get you going straight away. And a lot of newer radios are actually supplied with the plug as standard. So if you're using a handheld, it's slightly different. Now, I'm not going to open the battery box on this one. This is my Midland Allen 42. But I can tell you that there are 8 rechargeable batteries in there. And that is enough to run this radio for a while before the batteries run dead and then they have to be recharged. And it does come with a charger, and there is a charging connector on the side. Now, this 1987 Realistic TRC 1007, which is a bit of a big radio. I'll just put it in like that. Let's do that better, shall we? There we go. Now that has 8 batteries in it that are in circuit and 2 that are not, as it has throwaway batteries in it. It will take 10 rechargeable batteries, although it says 10 NiCad. You can't really get NiCads anymore. Or 8 AA, but that AA would refer to alkaline or other type of throwaway batteries. Though I would recommend alkaline in that application, because the zinc chloride ones would be pretty much finished very quickly. So handhelds run off batteries, though you can get car adapters for modern handhelds such as this Midland. I do have one, but it's not to hand at the moment. That basically what you do is, for this Midland, you take the battery box off and you're left with that, and the car connection goes onto the bottom like that. But for that to be legal in the car, you would have to also connect an external microphone, and you have to connect a roof antenna as well. so you can actually use it properly. So handhelds can be used in the car. You just need to make sure you've got a microphone and perhaps a speaker, although they're usually built into the same unit, and also an antenna on the roof of your car. I'll cover antennas in the antenna section, which is I believe it's the next video. I'm just going to have to check that again because I cannot remember the order I was doing these videos, which is a bit of a... Yes, it was actually the antenna. So, yeah, it was the antenna that I'm looking at next. So, power supply can either be this, or a car battery, or, in the case of handhelds, a set of AA batteries, either throwaway or rechargeables. So, I hope that's covered it for you. Now, the last thing I want to point out is these radios, as it says on them, on this one particularly, it says 13.8 volts DC. Now, that means you can't use that in a truck without converting the 24 volts down to the 12 volts. So, some ex-Army Land Rovers are the same. If you have one of those, you might find it's a 24 volt supply and you'd have to convert the 24 volts down to 12. However, as I say, this is beginner's CB, so this is be focusing mainly on people who have a car, but some people may also drive trucks for a living and may want to put a CB in their truck. And you can get CB radios that will actually work on 24 volts in a truck, though none of the ones I have will actually do that. So, that's been somewhat enlightening. So cigarette lighter in the car, straight to battery in the car, through a dropper in a truck, or if you're in the house and want to use it as a base station, buy one of these power supplies. My recommendation is to get the power supply from a reputable radio equipment supplier, because the ones often sold on eBay are usually quite old and would need to be repaired to bring them up to scratch and make sure that they were safe. You couldn't guarantee those will be safe. So best to buy a brand new mains power supply if you want to use your CB radio as a home-based radio. Although there are old 1980s base station radios on eBay as well, but again they may have some issues with their mains power supplies. So best thing to do is, if you're going to buy a CB radio, buy your beginner's entry-level CB radio, a small power supply. You don't need one as big as this. This is a 7 amp power supply. A 3 amp one is perfectly adequate for what you would need. So yeah, that's somewhat helpful. And remember, when you're connecting up, red is positive, black is negative. So if you're connecting up to a car battery or to one of these power supplies, make sure that the wires are indeed the correct way round and that red indeed goes to the positive. And you should connect the positive side first if you're connecting it to a car battery. Just a little bit of a safety tip there for you. So, hope that's been helpful. So, I'll catch you in the next one. As they say on CB, 1010 till we do it again. And in the amateur radio world, that would be 7.3, but that can be used on CB as well, but I will cover that in the terminology video later on. So, I'll catch you in the next video, and I'm hoping that has been helpful for you if you're getting started in CB radio.